The problem is that you are navigating a world as if things are getting dicey for you. You're not navigating the world as if everything is working out in your favor. What is up, my fellow dreamers and soul searchers? Welcome to the Roxy Talks Manifestation Podcast, your raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic source for all things manifestation related. I'm Roxy Lee, and for the last decade, I have been researching and developing my signature 360 method, which combines behavioral science, quantum physics, and the law of attraction to help you manifest a life beyond your wildest dreams. Visit roxytalks.com for more info. Now, let's get into it. What is up, my fellow dreamers and soul searchers? Welcome to another episode of the Roxy Talks Manifestation Podcast, where we discuss everything that you need to know so that you can be an expert manifester. And the reason why you would want to be an expert manifester is so that you can create any reality that you want. Nothing is off limits. Nothing is too far-fetched. Nothing is too impossible. Nothing is hard. Nothing is, not possible for you, but it is for other people. None of that stuff. I firmly believe that any reality you can think of, you have access to. And that the fact that you have the thought of it is proof and evidence of the existence of the corresponding reality. I believe that every thought has a corresponding reality and is connected via string theory, essentially. And so in my mind, the way that I see it is that when you have a thought about anything, what you're doing is essentially like calling, like you're video dialing, or you're like video dialing. I'm so old. You're FaceTiming, or you're texting, or you're paging, you're telephoning that reality, and you're calling them up. And the more you call them, the longer the phone call. You know what I'm saying? The more you dive into that reality in your mind, the more you're going to experience it in your body. So it's so crucial that you learn to discern between thoughts you would like to experience in the physical reality and thoughts you would not like to experience in the physical reality, and then do something about it. And I always love the fun new ways I find to explain awareness and discipline, but that's what that is. Awareness and discipline is the cornerstones of 360 Method. You know that, 360method.co. We just started round 4, so it's open officially. You can now jump on 360method.co. You can jump on right now and start module 1. Tomorrow, if you're listening to this as of the release date, which is Wednesday the 13th, tomorrow, Thursday, is the first group accountability hour. So you'll be meeting with your fellow 360 members and kind of introducing yourselves and getting to know each other and setting your intentions for this group. So 360method.co. If you're really serious about taking control of your manifestations, taking control of your mindset, because here's the deal. I always say this. You can half-ass it, but you're going to get half-ass results. Half-ass attempts at controlling your mindset. Half-ass attempts at focusing your thoughts only on realities you want to live in. Half-ass attempts at flipping your thoughts. Half-ass attempts at ignoring your 3D. Half-ass attempts at, reacting in your ideal only and not reacting as your current self. All of those half-ass attempts are going to get you half-ass results in your reality. And what that usually looks like is either a back and forth push and pull, like you'll get some forward momentum and then you'll fall back again, or you're just stuck and like nothing seems to move forward. And it seems to be like, that's what I see a lot of mostly, is people being stuck. And it's because they are doing a little of the work and then not doing enough of it, because I just heard in my head, they're serving two masters and the strongest master wins. Ooh, that's it. Like, my psychic always tells me the strongest energy wins. So if you are dancing between the reality you'd like to be in, the reality that you wish you were surrounded by, the reality whose circumstances you wish you were experiencing, but you know damn well that you're in your current reality, and how am I supposed to believe that this fantasy is real? And what am I supposed to do when I'm faced with it in my world? I'm just supposed to lie to myself? Well, I mean, yeah. That's the idea. And sometimes people are like, well, I don't want to lie to myself. I'm like, cool, then keep living in fucking apathy or misery, or like in your basic reality. You know, like, if you don't want to do the work of paying attention to what your thoughts are saying and then having a moment of analyzation, a moment of detached objectification, looking at your thoughts and saying, okay, does that actually describe how I want to live? It may be true in the moment. It may be like, you know, I'm just going to, I don't know, throw something out there. I've got this bill to pay and I just quit my job. I'm trying to start my business. Bills are coming up. And like, how am I supposed to ignore that? Well, my answer is like, whether you quote unquote ignore it or stress about it, the bill is still the bill and you still don't have the money. So what does it matter if you lie to yourself about it? Because two things can happen if you lie to yourself about it. And of course, I'm saying lie to yourself because this is how people, well, I don't want to lie to myself. Yeah. Okay, well, again, you could start thinking different thoughts, which you could call lying to yourself, or it could be controlling your thinking, controlling your mindset, controlling your awareness. Or you could just be at the mercy of what the fuck you experience for the rest of your life. You pick. And since you're here right now, I'm guessing you don't want to be at the mercy of what you're experiencing. I'm guessing you want to change things. I'm guessing you want to change things bad enough that you Googled something like how to make money, how to create a new life for myself, how to up level, you know, who knows what you Googled. Actually, hey, I'm totally interested in what you Google to find this kind of information. Like, what did you Google to stumble across this podcast? Or how did you find me? Feel free to DM me on Instagram or leave a comment on the podcast. I'd love to hear how you found me or what you were Googling. But aside from that, the point is you Googled that because you were not happy with what you were experiencing. You seek out this information because something inside of you is saying or has said to you, there's got to be more. There's got to be another way. And I'm telling you right now, the other way is to learn how to essentially lie to yourself or choose what you think about what you experience. Because anything you experience is just a reflection of what you've already thought. So using the 3D reality to validate your insecurities, I mean, it's a great way to do it, but it's very stupid. It's very, it's so childish and immature to be like, well, I'm not going to believe that something else is possible for me because look at what everything has already happened. Look at all the things that have already happened. And it's like, well, yeah, all that stuff has happened to you because you refuse to believe anything else is possible. It can't not be what you've experienced because you're not expanding your mind. So really you have to look at what's around you, the quote unquote circumstances you're experiencing, and decide that they are something else, or decided that it doesn't matter. Decide that you're fine without it. Decide that everything's working out in your favor or something, right? Like the bill, like that we were talking about earlier, the bill is the bill. You still have to pay the power company. You still need electricity. You still don't have income. Or you still don't have the money in your bank. Let's say it like that. And you still just quit your job. Those things are not going to change. And the reason they're not going to change is because those are past manifestations. They have already come to pass. So you can't change them now with your mind, right? Like you change what happens with those situations. You change what happens going forward. And this is exactly why circumstances don't matter. Because if you have, let's say this is your reality, you have two options of, well, you have billions of options of looking at it, but let's break it down into like two different camps. We have the 3D reality camp, the people that don't want to look past what they're doing, that think it's hard, that don't want to lie to themselves. And I know I'm being extreme in this example and in this episode. So I'm not trying to put anybody down, and I'm just trying to get the point across of like, hey, you can really think anything you want, and who cares if you're lying to yourself? It's much better than existing in sorrow. Like if lying to yourself makes you happy, why is it bad? No one is asking you to be delusional. I'm asking you to step outside of what you think you're stuck with and try something new. So if you're in the first category where it's like, well, listen, I just quit my job. I don't have any money coming in. My light bill's due. I can't pay it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm freaking out a little bit. I'm just like, I'm trying not to freak out. And I'm trying to ignore the 3D. And it's just, it's like coming around. I'm like, oh God, I'm trying not to think about it. And I know that like circumstances don't matter, but I still have this bill. I hear this all the time. So actually, fuck that. I've never heard that before. No one ever thinks that, because everybody's always understanding that like circumstances don't matter and they can do whatever they want and money's always coming to them freely and easily. So let's just say hypothetically you were thinking that first section of thoughts. That's the 3D way of thinking, and it's slow as molasses. That's what they just said in my head. Because what that part of you is thinking like a human. That part of you is thinking concrete. That part of you is used to having to manipulate past manifestations, like what I was just saying, that something that is in the 3D right now is actually a past manifestation. So trying to change it just affects your future. How fucked up is that? So when you're too human, when you've got that human kind of closed-mindedness where you just think that, it's meat, it's bone, it's rock, it's terra, it's just Terra, it's just, concrete fact. It's what I see, and it's not ethereal, it's not esoteric, it's not energy, it is what it is, period. The old way of thinking, right? Like what we thought before we found manifestation. That way is going to be hard. You'll figure it out, I promise. You're resourceful, you're going to figure it out, but it's going to be really stressful, and you don't need to stress, right? Like you don't need any added stress. You just quit your job. It's time to be free. And like, we don't need you worrying about what's coming through. We don't need you worrying that sales aren't going to come in your business or whatever. You need to be focusing on bringing in the business and radiating in your own belief and excitement and joy and opportunity and the openness of the moment. So you have the opportunity to look at things and say, okay, I don't know how I'm going to pay this, blah, 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 blah. I literally don't even want to finish the sentences. I started to get the ick. Done. We're done talking about that one. Okay. Or you can say, wow, circumstances don't matter. Cool, my light bill's paid. You could take that moment and visualize yourself calling the company and paying it all off, paying next month's as well, prepaying, visualizing your just going around your house with your lights on and being like, thank you for my lights, thank you for my power. Visualizing the money in your bank, doing all of the techniques, scripting about it, affirming, like going the traditional manifestation route. That stuff is still valid. And then we pop 360 in there. And 360 says, anytime I have a worrisome thought, anytime I'm fearful that I can't do this, anytime I see a bill, anytime I look at my bank account, I'm changing my perception of what I'm viewing. I'm changing my perception of what I'm experiencing. And again, this is why circumstances never matter, because when a circumstance occurs in your world, what did we just learn about that? It's already in the past. So me reacting to it literally is going to bring more of that circumstance into my world, because while my body is kind of living out the sins of my past, or the I don't know, it just sounded that I like that. Let's just leave it there because it sounds poetic. While my body is living out the sins of my past, my mind is creating the experience of the future, the sins of the future. I don't mean it that way, but you get my point, right? It's like you think you're all one being living and experiencing stuff in real time. But what's actually happening is that your body, I call it downstairs, the past is unfolding. Your past thinking is unfolding around you, and upstairs in your mind, at the same time, simultaneously, you're creating the future, period. And if you get those roles mixed up or you combine them, this is when you get stuck. This is when you become shackled to the current. This is when you're not able to move forward because you're not thinking beyond what you're seeing in your 3D. And what you see in your 3D is a reflection of the past, a reflection of your past thinking. It's you dealing with stuff in a way that is not powerful. And of course, we're talking about negative circumstances, right? Of course, if you're in control or you've manifested good stuff, that's not what we're talking about. Actually, although, listen, I've actually talked to a lot of people and had clients that good stuff does trigger anxiety and fear and worry and doubts, because then that means, okay, when does the good thing go away? So whether a circumstance is good or bad, something in your reality is good or bad, quote unquote, as labeled by you, this still applies. You still need to know how to regard it and treat it and handle it and think about it in order to pick what happens next. So the person that is in control, the person that's doing 360 method, the person that is choosing the thoughts is going to say, whatever happens right now, the bill is already manifested. What's going on in my 3D world is already manifested. For the love of God, I cannot afford to think like this reality anymore, or I'm going to stay here. I have to say the bill is paid. Everything's working out for me. I'm not worried about it. I've got so many sales coming in, or, money is always flowing to me. Or my bills are always paid. I'm always taken care of. The universe has my back. My power is on. The power is staying on. The power company loves me. They always have their money. They have all their money. Whatever it is, you're changing the story. And then you're navigating through your 3D reality with a different awareness. It's almost like if you're, walking through a pretty garden, you don't want to step on anything, or you're hanging out with a bunch of kids around Christmas and you don't want to let slip who or who may not be coming down the chimney and all those things. I'm not even going to say it, but it's like you hold a different awareness than the people around you. Or imagine if you were proposing to somebody and you knew that they were about to be a fiance and they didn't know. And you're living two different realities, even though, they're in a completely different world than you are. And you're pretending to be in the world that they are, but inside you actually know that you're in the world you're in. And so, or you have a surprise for somebody, you're planning a surprise birthday party or something like that. Or you got a promotion and you haven't told anybody yet, or I don't know. I'm just thinking of different exciting things where you'd be holding back, and the people around you, you'd be like, oh my God, these people have no idea what's coming. And that's the energy that I had right before I launched Roxy Talks. When I was working for my friend's business, we would go on business trips together, and I would be sitting at these tables with all these different entrepreneurs, and they're all talking about what they do, and they'd be like, oh, Roxy, what do you do? And I'm just like, well, I'm working for the show and I have my little channel, blah, blah, blah. I want to start my own business. But in my head, I'm like, you guys have no idea who I am. You have no idea who you're talking to right now. And even though my body was navigating, the current 3D world, because I didn't want to sound like a delusional weirdo, even though I definitely did sometimes. That's fine. That's totally fine. People still think I'm delusional. That's okay. I don't care, because you can think I'm delusional and I'm manifesting my reality, and you can stay over there in a world that is really fucking lame. And I'm strictly speaking to people that want to leave comments. Anywho, not nice comments. So navigating the 3D world and then having a different mindset about what you're actually experiencing, that's kind of that's the game. Or think about an actor. An actor is pretending with their body. They're telling a different story, but deep down there's something else. So when things are going on around you, whether it's negative or positive, whether you can pay the bill or you can't, stop saying that. The problem is that you're saying that you can't pay the bill. The problem is you believe the circumstance is a problem. The problem is that you are operating as if you can't pay the bill. The problem is that you are navigating a world as if things are getting dicey for you. You're not navigating the world as if everything is working out in your favor. And this is why they don't matter, because, and this is why lie to yourself, because I've been the person that can't pay the bill. I know what that feels like. And it feels like shit to be worried about how you're going to pay. And it feels so much better to know, or at least to practice thinking that it's all paid and everything's all good. I just instantly started smiling. Yes, it's all paid. My bills are always paid. Money is coming to me in like hordes and droves, and like money trucks. They're like pulling up to my freaking door with those bank trucks with all the money in the back of them. And people are signing up, and lottery tickets and briefcases full of money and just all kinds of opportunity. And it feels so much better to think that. And like, either way, my bill is still where it is. And the way that I'm going to pay it is going to come about like it always does. It always comes about. It always gets paid. It always comes through. If you look at all the times you've been afraid of not having your bills paid, and look at where you are right now. You may have not been able to pay your bills a couple times, but guess what? You're still here, and you're still okay. You're still stuck in this pattern, but you know everything's going to be fine because it has been. So you're going to figure out how to pay it or get it paid. And if you switch to the frequency of it's already paid, I'm not worried about it, it's going to happen faster and in a less stressful way. So this is why I say be delusional, lie to yourself. Who cares? In the 3D, you still don't have the job. You still are waiting on income. The bill still hasn't been paid. So what is the use of sitting around in turmoil? And the other thing again is, if you do sit around in turmoil, then guess what's going to happen next month? The same thing, because while you're sitting around experiencing the turmoil of this 3D reality, which is the past coming to fruition, you're creating the future. You're making another instance to sit in turmoil about your money situation. So the best thing you can do, no matter what the circumstance is to drop that fear, that worry, that doubt. And I know that's not easy. That's why we do 360 Method, 360method.co. If this episode is speaking to you, 360method.co. Jump on the program. We just started. Doors are open. We are ready to have you come on in. It's going to be a wild ride. We have the best group of people coming through. 360 always attracts the best people. I just had our welcome call last night. We had our champagne party, and it was just so fun to see everybody together and the power of the group. And I just love all of the humans that I get to work with through my following of my big, beautiful dreams. So 360 Method is open. And this is where you're going to learn to really control the thinking, become impervious to the circumstances, really understand that they do not matter and what that means and how to control them. Because no matter what, again, is happening around you, what you say about it is what you experience next, essentially. So what is actually happening around you is irrelevant. That's why circumstances don't matter. What you think about what's happening around you is what matters. And that's why awareness and discipline is always super key. That's why it's the cornerstones of 360 Method. Because if you can catch yourself thinking what you're thinking and then change it in the moment, now we're cooking with fire, baby. Now you are completely in control. Nothing can take you down, can stop you, can harm you in the long run, right? Because, we're still human. We have emotions, but it's what we think about it. How do you control the story as the emotions are being triggered? That is what makes you an expert manifester. So 360method.co, that is where we are learning how to do this on autopilot so you can live whatever life you desire without stress, effort, worry, doubt. You can do it with ease. You can do it with style. You can do it in a fun way. And everything is going to continue working out in your best interest because that's the intention that we're putting into everyday life. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Please DM me on Instagram if you enjoyed this episode or leave a comment. I think you can leave comments on Spotify now. I'd love to hear how you found me and if this episode helped you. Again, follow me on social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. And if you'd like my personal help with your situation, roxytalks.com for coaching, courses, workshops, free downloads, and more. I love you so much. I appreciate you. We're all raising our vibrations together. You have the power. I believe in you.